Good morning, Professor. Let's see. Um, First, I guess I would like to touch base on the Great Zimbabwe. The pictures are actually very interesting for the fact that, in my eyes, Africa has always had this image of being underdeveloped on our eyes, on our Western eyes. And it's actually very interesting to see the great civilizations that exist in Africa around this time. Um, Particular, actually, something I really found very interesting is the great um, Masa Musa in Mali. His pilgrimage to Mecca and the amount of wealth he had, and also the accounts that there were on the article that talked about the rise of Mali, the lecture in I can browse this Al Umaris on Mali in West Africa, how it talks about the rich culture that exists in that area and how important Mali was to the world trade because it's great deposits of gold. And honestly, just for the simple fact that in my eyes, it just reassures that that part of the world had indeed great civilizations and was not your kind of Sulu South Africa underdeveloped um, kind of society. Which even though that the Zulus were very developed and very advanced in themselves. But what I'm trying to say is this: there were rich societies, there were great kingdoms and great empires in that area. For example, the Great Empire of Mali. So that was really reassuring. It was really nice to read about it. I guess my questions are not many. On that part, I mean, everything sounds pretty clear. I guess the next part, I do have some questions, and this is the part that talks about the Hundred-Year War. Sorry. And I guess one of the questions I had about that is I know it was fought on French soil and the English were more advanced. And then we mentioned that there was had a lot of reasons. One of the reasons was the fought between the cousins for the right to be heirs to the French throne. But what were some of the other reasons? What are some other main reasons why this war started? Um, is it because I don't know? Just kind of curious. I also I kind of understood that the English and the French I mean, actually, the English more than anything were trying to expand their possessions. But I mean, what are some of the other tangible reasons why this war started? Just kind of curious about it. The Angkor eyewitness in 1415. I found that very interesting. Actually, historically, I think it's very important. Kind of going back to our discussions during the week, where you have one great power who has technological advancements, military advancement over the other, and whose government is better structured and ends up conquering the other, and how this may actually lead to the conquered people or the conquered region to actually unify under one cause. I think that pattern is evident in other parts of history, similar setups where a great power conquers some people and then it really ultimately helps unify the people into a better, stronger, more cohesive um, region that it's able to fight off the original conqueror and maybe later on conquer other people themselves. So um, again, we're talking about the Middle East. I'm not sure. I know it takes a long time. In the case of the French, it took them 100 plus years. So it's just food for thought right there. Otherwise, very interesting. The story of Joan of Arc. For me, it's a fascinating story. Um, I've seen the movies. I kind of read a little bit about it. Just the whole concept was just fascinating. I mean, the whole idea of what happened is wow. I cannot say much, but that's pretty much my bigger question. Just what are the root causes besides what we already know from the discussion that led to this war? Just what kind of stuff you might know that would be interesting to know. Uh, Now going on to the mass graves, there reveals the possibility of a mass explosion, volcanic explosion. in the readings that we had about that. Boy, that was kind of interesting. I guess I love history, but I also have to be frank that when it comes to scientific studies, I tend to be skeptical until there's very solid proof. Obviously, the little ice age is a proven pattern that existed and it affected the world. And actually, it's very important, I guess, to understand what the causes are, because I think honestly, looking back, it changed patterns of population. It changed growth in population. It changed people's attitude towards different areas towards what to do. I mean, I'm not sure if I remember reading this wrong, but I think it might have forced people to migrate south and conquer other people, or at least begin to do so in order to get supplies and necessary goods. But just, I guess, not sure how to phrase this, and I mean, how solid is this evidence from this volcanic eruption? I know you said that it's pretty solid, but it sounds like at the end of the day, it's still a very strong theory, and it's going to be very hard to actually prove it. Um, but I guess for me as a person that loves history, the relevant fact is the impact the little ice age had on the world, and most importantly, what kind of impact the opposite is going to have once this world starts warming up here, and it's the pattern that we're seeing. Right? What kind of impact it might have, if we connect that to what happened with the little ice age. So it sounds that the warming that's going on around our world, it could, for borrowing from historical facts, could have a serious and will have serious consequences for patterns around the world. Um, that's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of interesting stuff. Um, really, very, a lot of good discussion. Anyway, I'll let it bet you be long video. Just, that's pretty much it. I guess we'll keep in touch, and until next week.